Thank you for listening to our webcast on judging and the history fair. This podcast is developed in order to help people train to be judges in the Davis School District History Fair program, to understand what the purposes of the history fair are and what the things are that judges ought to look for as they judge a project. The history fair is based on an inquiry approach. The reason the school district supports National History Day and the history fair program is because of the skills that students develop throughout the process as they develop their history fair project. They go through the process of conducting research, coming to their own conclusions, and putting those together with the theme to be able to show how it's connected, to interpret, and then share that through the production of a project, whether that's an exhibit, a performance, a documentary, or what have you. The process they go through of asking questions always starts with the student's own interests. And as they start to learn about the things they're interested in, they ask appropriate questions, the same questions that historians do, in terms of what happened, why it happened, why is it significant. The result of their producing this product to share their information that they learned puts them in the position of museum curators, looking at artifacts and information, producing documentaries, and even acting or sharing their information in a entertaining way. Also writing in a scholarly academic way. Now, the judging process is based on having adults or older historians take a look at the information the students have put together and evaluate it based on the criteria established by the National History Day Foundation. The questions that you ask students are ways to clarify their understanding of the topic, especially as it relates to the theme. And through the process of judging, there are scorecards that the judges fill out as you talk to students and after you've talked to them, to be able to compare the students' application of the theme to the way other students apply that theme to their topics of interest. Because students all pick different topics, it's a difficult thing to be able to compare them, but using those scorecards gives a really good way to do that. One of the reasons that judges come and help with the history fair is because of their own interest in history, but we can see some of the feedback that we've received from other judges about what they enjoy about history fair, about the kids, about seeing the creative ideas and ways that they've produced their product, the vibrancy and enthusiasm, how they prepare, and how to be better teachers, better historians ourselves. Now, history fair judges evaluate four main categories of knowledge, analysis, sources, and presentation. And what you evaluate is the summary statement form that the children or the students produce, the annotated bibliography, and other criteria related to their compliance with the rules of the project, but their interview skills are not part of the evaluation. Questions may be asked to help clarify what they understand, but their interview skills are not the basis of their score. Now, when you look at the knowledge category for the History Fair project, about 30 to 35% of the score comes from how much they know about the topic. A lot of the information about what they know should come through in the presentation of their product. But sometimes we ask additional questions to find out how much they remember or what they know about it. Is the information accurate or complete? And some of that is just an evaluation of the completeness of what they've produced. This diagram shows us the three scores that could be received in this area: good, excellent, or superior. And you can see that a superior topic or a superior score for knowledge comes from the depth of their understanding of those connections to the theme. Excellent says that they have some depth, but a good score does show some broad understanding of the topic. The student's analysis of what they have learned counts for between 30 and 25% of their score. As the students analyze the impact of their topic and they demonstrate the evidence and how that ties to the theme, that analysis is what historians do, and it's important that they have taken the time to analyze what they do. The scores for analysis, again, are superior, excellent, or good, and a superior score for analysis would demonstrate their ability to connect their topic and the thesis for their topic with the evidence that they have gathered together. Now, their thesis or their argument about what happened in the past has to be specific. It should have a narrow focus instead of this broad generalization of it impacted everybody, of course, but instead being very specific about what happened because of the event or because of the topic. Now, the so what factor, or the reason that we have History Fair, has to do with how the students connect to the theme. Why does this topic the students have chosen relate to the theme? And so they use superior, excellent, good as the evaluation grade that we give to students as we judge their projects. And the last category would be not available, or the students did not address that question or address the theme in their summary statement. Now, the sources they use are important. 20% of their score comes from the type of sources. Is there a variety? Is there a way that they've included the depth or broad research into what they've done? And does the annotated bibliography show that they did their homework about the interview? The annotated bibliography is an important part of what the students do and really represents the bulk of their work in learning about the topic. Now, the primary sources that students find, we have to be careful about the quality that we as historians use, but also the students should be considering the same thing. Encyclopedias are written and edited for accuracy by content experts. So if the question comes up about Wikipedia, because of how it is put together by anybody who wants to register for the site, a lot of that information is not always checked for accuracy. And even if you wanted to, you could go and change and edit that information yourself to, quote-unquote, make it more accurate. But to use Wikipedia as a scholarly source to talk about a topic, it really needs to be avoided. If a student uses Wikipedia to start their research, to find some starting information, any information they use needs to be found in another source, correlated to what they find other places. Now, secondary sources are not the sources that are by people who are there in person, but they are acceptable sources. And in upper divisions, there are more stringent requirements for having more primary sources versus secondary sources. In our district, we want students to have a good variety of sources, and if they can find primary sources on their topic, wonderful. But the secondary sources serve their purpose too. And now the internet, when the students find the bulk of their resources through the internet and not through books or other archive sources, it sends up a little bit of a red flag that the students ought to have looked very carefully for what they are using. But still, it should be something that you do as a judge to clarify with the student through questions about the process they went through in finding their information and learning more about their topic. But even then, one of the only ways that some students can find primary sources on the topic is from the internet. So it's something that you at least should ask questions about that process. Now, as a volunteer judge, you're not a historian, so how are you going to know if the information the students have given is accurate or 100% reliable? A lot of that information just comes through the annotated bibliography, where the students found the information and what they found useful about that information or what they're using for their research from that source. So reading through the annotated bibliography will help you. There are some important parts that students must include in an annotated bibliography. The bibliographic information, or the first line of each entry, is in MLA or Turabian style. And as a judge, you look for obvious errors. Being picky about punctuation isn't really our role, but if you notice obvious errors where there's missing information in the bibliography, make sure to note that in your judging sheet. But the annotation is a short piece immediately after the bibliographic information that demonstrates where the student gives information on where that piece of information would be used in their project or how that information helped them in their project. The presentation itself, now this is the product or the board that they make or the documentary that they make, is worth 20% of the score. But if you notice, 20% is still a really small portion of it. Although it's the most visible part, we need to balance that with the other pieces of theme, analysis, and their sources they used. So if the project is well organized, it shows attention to detail and in the design and how it's put together, you can grade that excellent, superior, or good. Now, the summary statement is a short 500-word, it's not very long, summary of what they did and how they got there. this is another, and as we've said before, an important source of information for this judging. The interview that you conduct with students does not constitute the basis for their score on the History Fair project, but a judge can use an interview and talking with students to clarify the understanding of the student of how their topic relates to the theme. Sometimes it's hard for them to do that in their written exhibit or in their written information, but through questions made by the judges, you can clarify what the students really understand and know. The types of interview questions you might ask have to do with: how did you get interested in the subject? Were you surprised by anything you found out? Did it change any ideas you had about the topic before you began your research? Avoid asking the tell me more open-ended questions, because the students have a tendency to have prepared a statement that summarizes what is on the board or repeats what's on the board. In the rule book, they indicate that you should have questions that ask them about the development of their project, specific questions about the content of their project. But if they wanted to do a prepared statement or monologue, that belongs in the performance category. Totally different from where a lot of students tend to want to repeat their research instead of talking about how they learned it. And then last of all, we come to the evaluation scorecard, or the judge's sheet. You should take some time to look at these judge's sheets for the different types of projects that you will be judging before you come to judge, just to become really familiar with what is being asked or the areas of interest that you're looking at. It is appropriate to use the blank area on the right side to clearly share with the student what was good, what was bad, and what was good again. A burn, build, burn kind of strategy where you start with a positive comment, summarize what it was about. In the middle, you give positive, constructive criticism about what they can improve on, and always end with another positive comment. The purpose of the History Fair, again, while it is a competition, we send kids from school fairs to regional fairs and on up. One of the purposes is to help increase their learning about the topic and improve in what they do and their skills. So the evaluation comments that you give to the students can really assist them. So if you include a positive comment, you have a little description, we have some examples to look at, and always use some good words about, instead of using the word should, say consider doing this. And instead of saying your thesis was weak, say strengthen your thesis. Other comments like using more primary sources will, or what about how you use this photo? It was clear from the interview, or when I talked to you, that you knew so much. I wonder if you could explain more about how your thesis or about how your topic impacted this, or was a revolution or a reaction. And you can focus on, another statement is, you say, you might want to focus on why your topic made a difference and conclude that with another positive remark. Thanks, I learned a lot. Congratulations, I enjoyed your project. So that the students come away from their experience with encouragement to continue to do better. We have an example of a scorecard filled out where they give a number of points, very good, clear ways that the students can improve. Writing sometimes takes a lot of the time when you talk about judging, but giving students the appropriate amount of feedback is important, extremely important. Now, the very last thing we want to share with you, if you have other questions, you can always look on our website. The Davis School District History Fair website and the Chicago History Fair has a lot of good information for judges or for students who want to improve on their projects. They've done a very good job, and we refer you to that also. Thank you for listening, and I hope you have a wonderful day.